Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome to this week's weekend update. As always, remember that this is meant to be sort of a recap on what's happened this week and is no substitute for checking the avalanche forecast each day before you head out into the backcountry. So it was another relatively uneventful spring week. We had warm daytime temperatures and pretty good freezes overnight. We had plenty of sunshine, and the wet snow was the primary problem in the avalanche forecast. And this led to a predictable diurnal stability pattern. So diurnal means that when we get good freezes at night, the snowpack starts out relatively stable. And then as the snowpack heats up due to warming temperatures and sunshine, the wet snow problem, the wet snow avalanche hazard increases through the day. So that does tend to be relatively predictable. And that is primarily what we were dealing with through the week. And as a result of the good freezes at night, we had a number of small wet loose avalanches occur, but nothing that was too remarkable. During this past week, however, there was a large wet slab observed in the Sawtooth. This happened back in the main warm-up at the start of March. So it didn't happen this past week, but I'm still going to show a photo since it's a pretty interesting slide. We did see a few wet snow avalanches that are gouging down near the ground where the snowpack is less than 3 feet deep. So what's happening here is in those shallower snowpack areas, the whole snowpack is so weak and faceted that once a wet slide starts on the surface, it's pretty easy for that to gouge down in a weak, rotten, wet snow below the surface. And then this week, there was one smaller wet slab reported in the Sawtooth, and I'll show a picture of that in just a second. So first, here's a photo of the Sawtooth wet slab. This was down the ridge from Imogene Peak. If any of you folks have hiked to Toxway Lake in the summer, this happened just up canyon from Farley Lake. And it was a large avalanche. The crown is not very visible in the photo, so we've drawn it in red there, and it ran down to the valley bottom. So it looks like it broke, three-ish feet deep. Hard to say from the photo exactly, but that would put it in the ballpark for that sort of mid-pack facet crust layer that we've been dealing with through the latter part of the winter. And we're expecting to see more of these as we get into later spring. With any kind of significant warm up with a persistent weak layer that's as bad as the ones we've had this year, wet slab activity is to be expected, although it is pretty hard to predict. We expect it to happen. It is really difficult to predict exactly when it's going to happen, but traditional rules of thumb, anytime we get rain up into the mountains or when we get multiple nights without a freeze, those are really when we're starting to pay attention to sort of increasing likelihood of wet slabs. So looking at the temperatures through the week, you can see that really nice diurnal cycle there. So I got two stations showing here. The upper one is Lower Titus up near Galena Summit, and the bottom one is down in Ketchum. So we have sort of mountain temperatures and valley temperatures. You can see in the Lower Titus and the top, temperatures were getting well below freezing every night, and then warming into the temperatures near 40 or so during the day. Down in town, high temperatures were getting up into the 50s, and temperatures were just barely getting below freezing. So we saw on the left here is near Johnstone Peak, I believe. It looks like a wet slide that gouged a little deeper into the snowpack in an area where the snowpack was shallower and weak. And then on the photo on the right is pretty interesting. It was actually a wet slab that was reported at lower to mid elevations in the Sawtooths. The danger trend through the week on March 13th, that was last Saturday, we started out the danger with, the previous week with low danger, and it eventually increased to moderate midweek as we got into the more prolonged warming. And so the danger went up primarily due to the slightly increasing wet slide hazard. So maybe more interesting than the danger trend actually is that we finally dropped the persistent slab problem for the first time since before Christmas. So as we all know, we've been dealing with these persistent weak layers all year. They're still there, as this photo indicates. This photo was just taken a few days ago, and you can see near the bottom of the photo, there's just that weak facet layer that we've been dealing with all winter. So it's still there, but it's what we call dormant. So when a layer goes dormant, that basically means the pore structure is still there. There's still a very pronounced slab over weak layer structure, but due to the lack of loading we've had over the past few weeks, in fact, since March 1st, not counting today, which is Friday, since March 1st, we've only gotten about 6 inches of snow. So yeah, very little loading over this month. So that's given a chance, these weak layers a chance to kind of heal and sort of come to terms with their situation. So triggering an avalanche on these currently is very unlikely. It would take a dose of bad luck to trigger persistent slab. But keep in mind, these could become a concern again if we ever get significant loading again. And probably the more likely scenario here is during a pronounced warm up when we could start seeing some wet slab avalanches, as I discussed just a minute ago. So that brings us to today, or Friday's weather. We had a bit of a return to winter, at least sort of. This photo on the right here was taken this afternoon, Friday afternoon, up on Gladiator Peak, and up at upper elevations, say above about 7,500 feet, so sort of mid and upper elevations. The mountains from Galena Summit and south picked up about 2 to 4 inches of snow today. And the Sawtooth and Banner Summit area picked up about 4 to 8 inches. And unfortunately, that fell as rain in the valley and kind of a rain, kind of wet snow mix at lower elevations. And this precipitation was accompanied by moderate to strong south to southwest winds at upper elevations, which is what you can see in that photo here at Gladiator. And here's a video from this afternoon as well. So you can see the wind transporting the snow there onto that leeward side. We did find some wind slabs up to about 12 inches thick. That could be a different case up in the Sawtooth and towards Banner Summit where more new snow fell. Looking ahead to the weekend for Saturday and Sunday, let's start off with the weather. We're expecting colder temperatures with mountain temperatures. Highs expected to be in the upper 20s. We should see decreasing clouds, so mostly cloudy still on Saturday, and then looking to be mostly sunny by Sunday, and no significant precip is expected. For avalanche conditions on Saturday and Sunday, as I just showed you, wind slabs at upper elevations are a concern. These are likely to be small, but could be large enough to be dangerous, especially in our northern area where more new snow fell, but definitely want to be watching for these. It's a little bit of a change. We've been in this sort of spring pattern, so it's a good kind of wrap our heads around the fact that there could be some dry snow avalanche issues at upper elevations with that wind slab problem. Even today without the sunshine, but with warming temperatures at mid elevations, we saw that new snow starting to slough on the old crusts. So that's going to be something to watch out for this weekend, especially if we get any kind of sunshine, but that anywhere from 2 to 8 inches of new snow that's fallen throughout our area. Once the sun hits that, that's going to tend to slide on those old crusts pretty easily. And then, of course, down in the valley where we got some rain today and where it's still expected to get up into the 40s through the weekend, we're going to have wet snow problems lingering down low. So that's all I got for you. I hope you have a great weekend and try to stay on top. If you get out over the weekend, let us know what you're seeing. You can send us an observation at our website at sawtoothavalanche.com, and we really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you out there.